So hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Flutter video, and in this video series we'll be building a full stack to do application with the help of Flutter and Python on our backend. So we'll be creating our own server, and we'll be creating it with the help of Django. And Django is basically a backend framework for Python, like Laravel is for PHP or Node.js is for JavaScript. And whenever we are using Django, we get a database by default, which is SQLite in this case, and I'll be using this database to store my to-dos, and to fetch the to-dos we'll be building up our REST API with the help of the Django REST framework. So guys, in this video we'll basically be building up our backend, and then in the upcoming videos we'll be building our app and also connecting it with the server or the backend. So with this guys, let us get started. Before starting this video, if you guys are new to this channel and if you guys want to see more videos related to web and app development, then make sure you subscribe to my channel and also press the bell button so that you get notified every time I upload any new video. And also you guys can join our Facebook group where we discuss new projects and new ideas. Links will be given in the description below, so make sure you check it out and do enjoy this video. So guys, first of all, in my desktop I am just going to create a new folder and I'll call it to do app. And then inside this to do app folder, I'm going to create another new folder and I'll just call it backend. So this folder will basically contain our server, and inside our backend folder we need to create some files. So for that I'm going to open it with my Visual Studio Code. So right here I'm going to the file section, and I'm going to open folder, the backend folder. Okay, select folder, and now we have the backend folder which is opened in our Visual Studio Code. So I'll be using Visual Studio Code as an IDE for this video. And right now what we need to do, we need to open the terminal. So we get an terminal here, which will be quite useful. And now here I need to run some commands. So the first command which I'm going to run is the pip env install Django version 3.0.3, which I'll be using in this series. Enter. So basically what it is going to do, it is going to create an environment or a virtual environment, and it is going to install the Django of that given version into that environment. And it just takes a couple of seconds or maybe a minute or two. And now as you guys can see, it has been installed in my system or in my virtual environment. Now after that, what I need to do, I need to go get access to that virtual environment. So for that, first of all, I'm going to run another command, and it is pip env shell. Enter. And now I should be inside that virtual environment, and this is the name which I didn't decide upon. It is just getting created automatically, so you don't have to focus much on that until and unless you are manually creating such an environment. And inside of it, first of all, I need to get inside my I need to create a new Django project. So right now I have not created any new Django project. I have just installed the Django in my virtual environment. So to create a new Django project, I'll just run the command Django admin start project, and I'll name the project as to do app. Enter. And it should create a new project, as you guys can see over here. So inside this project, first of all, we get another folder of the same name, and also we get one manage.py file. So basically this manage.py file is very useful, and it is going to help us run our apps. So a Django application can consist of several or various apps which combines and works together. So now we need to create one app for our to-dos. So for that I need to get inside the folder. So cd to do app, and inside my folder what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new app. So for that I'm just going to run python manage.py start app, and I'm going to call it as to-dos. Enter. And it should create a new app called to-dos out here, as you guys can see over here. And now after that what we need to do, we need to register this app into our project. So for that we need to go inside the folder which was initially created when you created the new Django project, and with the same name of course. And inside this folder we need to go to the settings.py file, And right here you will see the section called installed apps, and under this we need to just add our app to it. So for that, to do's dot apps dot do's. So we have now configured our app, the to-dos app, which we have just created to our Django project. And now after that, what we need to do, we need to go back to our terminal, and we need to run another command to set up the first migration in our initial database. So for that, I'm just going to run Python manage.py migrate, enter. Okay, so I have mistakenly made a spelling mistake. So Python manage.py migrate, enter. Okay, so it is now running the migrations, and as you guys can see, we get a db.sqlite file, which is basically our database file. And now after that, we need to create our models. So basically we need to define how each to do is going to look like. So for that, first of all, let me just save this, and I'm going back inside my to-dos folder, and there I'm just going inside my models.py file. And as you guys can see here, we are being asked to create our models up here, and we'll just be needing a single model, just a to-do model out here. So let's create it. So class to do, and it will be of type model models.model. And in Python we use the colon, and after that for our to do we need two attributes. The first one will be the title, and the next one would be the description, of course. So the title would be a basic character field, and I think we can set limits to the title, or we can set the character limit to max length equals, let's say, 200 characters. And then we have to define the description, and we'll not be giving any limits to the description, so we'll just be using the text field. So models.text field, and after that we have to define the str method. So for that, str, and it is going to be self, and then it is also going to return the title. So it would be self dot title, and then yes, that's it. So that's for our model. And now what we need to do, we need to go back to our terminal, and basically we need to go back to our project. So cd to do app, and inside of it I'm just going to make the migrations to our database, so our database can create the model along with these two attributes. So separate column for each of them, the title and the description. And inside our terminal, where we have the virtual environment, we need to run a command to make the migrations to create the migration file, and then to migrate the changes to our database. So for that, I'm going to run the command python manage.py and make migrations, and we are going to need to create a migration file for our to-dos app. So to-dos, and now it is going to create the migration file, and now we need to migrate so that we can log our change to the project database. So for that, python manage.py, and it would be migrate, which we have performed earlier also, and we are performing it now because we are now making the changes to the models, and that's it. Or we are adding the models. And now after that, what we need to do, we need to register the model to our to-dos app. So for that, we need to go to the admin.py file inside the to-dos folder, and right here I can register my models. And for that, first of all, we need to import from models. We can import the to-do model. So import to-do, and after that we can register it by calling an admin.site.register method, and inside this register method we can pass on our model, so that to-do model. And now let's save it. And after that, what we can do, we can view if our model has been created. So To view it, basically we need to get access to that admin panel, and to get access to that admin panel we need to create a super user. So to create a super user, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the command python manage.py create super user, no spaces please. And now it is going to create a super user, and I'm just going to give a name called admin, and also I'm going to give a dummy or just a simple mail address, admin@admin.com, and then you can give the password. So it will basically ask if the password has contained any special characters or not, but since we will be working in our local environment, so it doesn't matter much. So I'm just going to give the password as admin. I'm going to give it again, and basically it is just going to show this error or this warning that the password is too short or it is too common, but I'll continue anyway. So I'll type y or yes, and now the super user has been created. And to view it, we need to run our server. So to run our server, first of all, we can just write this command python manage.py run server, enter, and our server should be running up and running in this link, and if you follow it. Okay, so I have now opened it up. So this is our server, and it is just showing that the installation or the setup process has worked correctly, and we are seeing this because the debug is set to true. And definitely when you are making your server or your API public, you don't want this. So you should make your debug to false. And after that, what we need to do now, we need to go to the admin panel. So for that, I'll just give a slash and I'll go to the admin panel, and now it is going to ask me for my username. So I'll give the username and I'll give the password, which is the same, enter. And okay, so now as you guys can see, we have our to-dos model over here, and if I open it, I can also add the to-do here. So let me add one to-do, and let me just call it buy milk, and I'll just give the description to market, just creating some dummy to-dos. And I'll create another one, let's call it learn Python, then I'll just call it, okay, let's save this. And now we have two to-dos, and we can create as much as we want, and we can also delete them, and also we can edit them. So this is definitely very useful, but remember that we don't want to add or delete our to-do by going to this admin panel or by going up here. We want it to be deleted from our app itself. So yes, so we need to take care of that. And but I have just showed you how you guys can create or set up a model, and then you guys can go to the admin panel and access it. And now what we need to do, we need to basically create the API, because we want to access it from a different project or from our app. So definitely we need to change it to our REST API, so that we would be access it from our app or from the website, from any website. So for that, what we need to do, we need to use a framework again, and that is the Django REST framework, which will be helping us to build our REST API. And you guys can go to this website and check out their documentation. And also, if you guys are finding it difficult to follow through, or if you guys don't have that much familiarity with Django or Django REST framework, then I'll be listing some books down below in the description section, so that you guys can check them out and maybe learn from them. So now we need to install this framework, that is the Django REST framework, into our virtual environment. So for that, as you guys can see, we are given some commands. So I'll just copy this up, the first one, and I'll just close my server, and right here I'm just going to paste that command, and I'll be actually using a version of this framework. So I'll just define a version, that is 3.11, then enter, and it should install the framework into my virtual environment, so that I'll be able to use it. And now as you guys can see, it has been installed. And yes, we need to create another app, and that would be actually our REST API. So for that, You guys can try on your own. So we have done it before, so it is Python manage .py start app, and we'll just call it as APIs because it is an API. Enter, and it should create the new app. And as you guys can see, we get a new folder called APIs, and this folder is quite similar to the to-dos folder, and these are just basically some apps which are going to work together and for our server. And now inside this APIs folder, we get access to our models, and also we get access to the views, which we'll be using it later on. And since we are just working with the to-do part here, so we'll not be creating any new models, so we just have one model. And after that, we need to register this app to our server or to our project. So for that, I need to go inside my to-do app folder, and right here inside the settings.py file, like we have installed, or we have registered our to-dos app, similarly we need to register the APIs app. So I think I'll just going to register it here before the to-dos app. So right here I'm just going to call apis.apps.apis.config. Okay, give a comma, and let's save it. And now we also need to set the default permission for our app. And in the real world, we set various permissions here, but here, so that only logged in users could access the API. But for now, we'll just open the API to everyone to keep the things simple. And the API will just be running locally. So after all, there is no real security risks. So for that, I'm searching for the section called REST framework. I guess we don't have it here, so I'll just create a section right here. So I'll just call it as REST underscore framework, and it will basically contain our permissions. So right here inside of it, just all permission classes, and here we can define the REST framework dot permissions dot, we need as I have told earlier, we are just going to make it public, so just allow anyone to access it. And also, since this will be running in the local server, so there is no security risks for that. Save this. And now after that, we will need to work with serialization. So basically, if I can explain it to you briefly, so our Django app needs a dedicated URL, view, and a template. So to translate the information from that database into the web page. And in Django REST framework, instead, we will be needing a URL, a view, and a serializer. We will not be needing any templates because we will not be working with HTML files, as we do not intend to create a web project or a website which will be running on this server. We'll just be creating the REST API, and for that we'll be needing a serializer and not a template. So if you have worked with Django previously, then you guys might be familiar with templates. So for now, I'll just remove all of this, and I'll make this clear. And right here, what we need to do now, we need to add a new file inside our APIs folder, and I'm just going to call it as serializers, not lizer, so serializers.py. And this file is inside our APIs folder. And inside this file, first of all, we need to write some code. So from REST framework, we're going to import the serializer package. So serializers, not lizer. So from to-dos, we need to import the model. So import models. And basically, if you guys are familiar with how the web works, then you guys might know that the exchange of any data or any information takes place from the API to the server, or the API to the application in the JSON format. So basically the information gets converted into JSON format, and then it is distributed to the application or to the receiver. So we need to create a class, and it will be the to do, let's call it to do serializer, and it would be serializers dot model serializer and colon, and right here we are going to define our metadata. So meta, and it is going to basically take some fields. So fields, and the fields would be, first of all, we our to do is going to have an ID which will be uniquely given. Then it will also have the title which will define, and also the description. And yes, and then after that we need to specify models equal or model equal models dot, since we have a to do model inside the models folder. So right here what we are doing, we are importing our desired model and specify which field we want it to be exposed. And now after that we need to define the views for our Django REST framework. So as I have told you earlier that it basically consists of the URL views and the serializers for an API. So to define the views, first of all, I am going inside the views.py file, and right here we can define the views. And since we will not be working with any templates or any HTML files, so we'll just needing the models. So I'm going to import the models. So from to-dos, since we have the model inside the to-do folder, and that is the only model we are working with, remember. And we're just importing the models, and then we need to import the serializer, because as I've told you earlier, we'll be working with the serializers, not the templates. And from the serializers we need to import the to do serializer class, which we have just created out here in the serializers.py file. So we have this to do serializer class, and we are importing it here right in our views.py file. Now when we want to define a to do, we basically want two things. So the first view would be the list view. So the list view would actually define the list of the to dos which we are going to have. And then if you want to view every to do individually, then it is going to be the detail view, or the to do in a separate detail. So for that, first of all, let us define the list of to dos, or the list to do. And here we will be using the generic views instead of the traditional views. So we will be working with the generic views, and we'll be working with several generic views. And also it is very similar to the traditional Django views. Here we will be mentioning generics dot list create API view. So this is going to create a view for our API, and this view will basically be define all the list, or the list of to do, or the to dos which we have. And basically we will be defining a query set, and this query set will basically contain the models dot object dot every all the to dos. So model dot objects dot all. And after that we need to define the serializer also. So serializer, and it would be the serializer class. It is not the serializer but the serializer class. It would be the to do serializer. And after that we need to define another class for the detail to do. So for that class, let's call it detail to do. So it is going to show it is going to show a particular to do in detail, and it will be generics dot retrieve update. Okay, retrieve update destroy API view. So what this is going to do, basically we will be able to with this retrieve update destroy API view, we will be able to read, and then we will be able to edit or update, and we'll be able to destroy the view or the to-do. So yes, so we will be able to perform the CRUD operation out here in each and every to-do. So that's why we need to have it in the detailed to-do class. And if you want to learn more, then you can go to the Django REST framework, and right there in the documentation you can find there are some methods like the retrieve update API view, for which we can just read and update it, and then retrieve destroy, for which we can just read or delete it. But we are using this one, so we'll be able to read, write, delete endpoints. So basically it is the we will be able to perform the CRUD operations here. And now after that, it will take the same query set which we have defined for our to-do list. So okay, so here query set will be same as this one, so I'll just copy this up. Okay, so I made one small mistake out here, so it will be models.todo.objects.all. and yes, so let's copy this up, paste it here. And also the serializer will also be the same, so I'll just copy this up and I'll paste it here. Save this, and also let's save this one. And now we need to take care of our URLs. So for that, what we need to do, we need to go to the to-do app folder, and inside of it we need to go to the urls.py folder. And right here we need to define the URL to our API endpoints. So the first one would be the path, and it would be API slash since we will be modifying, or we will be updating our API, so I suggest you do the proper versioning of your API. So I'll set it to version 1, since we are just building it up. And if you make any changes, you can change it to version 2. You can add another URL like this one, and you can just make it version 2, and that would be the updated one. So yes, so I suggest you doing like this. And here now, since we are using include, we need to import it. We can import it from our django.url. So I'll just import it here, comma, and inside this include, we can include the URLs, that is apis.url. so basically it is going to contain the URLs which are inside our APIs folder. So here we need to create a file called urls.py or py. So let's save this. And now here inside the APIs folder, close this one, and here I'll create a new file, and I'll call it as urls.py. and inside this file, first of all, I'm going to import Django URLs. So django.urls, and we need to import from it, we need to import a path function, and after that we also need to import the views, so that we will be able to embed it to our URL or to display it with our URL. So from views, import the list to do view. These are basically just generic views which I mentioned earlier, so we can perform the CRUD operations on them. And then here we can define the URL patterns. We're going to basically be a list, and the first one would be for our list of to-dos. So it would just leave it blank, so that we will be able to access the list of to-dos. So list to-do dot as view method, which will use it. And then we will define another one for our detail or for our individual to-do, and this is basically going to be the a query which we call as tk. So it will be automatically set by Django, and this will actually define the individual to-do items, and it will be automatically set by Django, so you don't have to worry about it. And now after that, we need to present the detailed to-do view. So detail to do dot as view. Okay, let's save this, and hopefully we will now be able to access to our to-dos. And for that, let us go to our terminal and go inside my to-do app. Okay, maybe I have one running over here. Okay, so I'll go back here and I'll just run python manage.py and run server, enter, and it should get the server running. Okay, we have one mistake here, so it should be serializers. Let's save this and serializers, save it, and getting some error about the generics. So in my views.py file, oh, I forgot to import the generics. So from REST framework, we can import the generic views or the generics. So generic, save this, and let's see what else are we missing it here. So okay, so I think here we cannot give a white space over here, so I'll just remove this. I'm going to remove the same over here. I'll just remove this, and we also, I think we have not added the REST framework because we are getting an error, as you guys can see over here. So we have not added the REST framework into our installed apps. So for that, you need to go inside the to-do app folder, and right there you can open the settings.py file, and right here we can include the REST framework. So REST framework, and let's save this, and also let's save this one, and let's try running it again, and I hope this solves. So python manage.py, run server, enter, and yes, now it is working, as you guys can see. So I'll just open it up into my browser. So yes, so now as you guys can see, since we are not using the traditional views, so we will be getting this error message because we are not using such HTML templates. But instead, as you guys can see, we are given that some two links. So the first one is for the admin panel, and the next one is for our API. So let's go to that link. So I'll just copy this up, and I'll add a slash and then paste it here and enter. And hopefully now, as you guys can see, we are able to access our API. And since we have just left that URL part as blank, so here, since it is blank, so we are directly accessing the list of the to-dos which we have here, and this is coming in the form of the Django REST framework. So it means that our REST API is successful, and we are now being able to get it. But if your API becomes more complex, then you can check it by using software called Postman. So you guys can use Postman if you want to build a more complex API, and if you guys want to test it. But since we are just running it locally, and since we are just working with a couple of to-do items, so I'll just be using this one. And yes, so make sure you have Postman installed in your computer, because when you are working with such complex APIs, you can use it. And now, as you guys can see, I can also access an individual to-do. So to access an individual to-do, what I can do is I can basically access it with that query which was being automatically set by Django. So I'll just write it here one, and now as you guys can see, I get access to the first to-do, that is to go and buy milk. And now here also you can notice the options which we get. We have an option to edit it, then we had an option to update it. We can read, we can update it, and also we can delete it. That's because we have mentioned it in our generic views. And if we go back to our list of to-dos, then you guys can see that we cannot create we can create it, but we cannot delete, or we cannot update anything because we have not included it yet. So if we look at the code, if you go to the views.py, so as you guys can see here, we can just create here. So yes, so that this is how our views are working. So guys, that's it for this video, and I hope you found this video helpful. And if you found it helpful, do share and like this video, and also do subscribe to my channel. And in the next videos, I will be building the app, and also we'll be connecting our API to our app. So make sure you stay tuned, and yes, thanks for watching.